people that listen to our podcast, you know what they want to hear? They want to hear 4 fucking grizzly bears getting down on some bullshit. That's what they want to hear. Welcome to the Drivers Project podcast, featuring hosts Dominic Scelzi, JJ Hickle, Sam Hafertepe Jr., and myself, Daryl Turford.
The Drivers Project podcast is brought to you by Kaiser Aluminum Wheels. Be wiser, by Kaiser.
We're back with another Drivers Project podcast. The sexiest podcast in all of motorsports is all over the place here. Sam and I are both in Knoxville, but not together, and we have Dom from his home. But tomorrow we're actually going to be reunited. Dom, you're actually making the trip down for the 360 Nationals, but not the 410 Nationals, correct?
Incorrect. Man, just with work, I'm going to end up having to stay home. Unfortunately, I thought we were going to be in a little bit better of a position, but it just looks like I'm going to be too busy to make the trip at all.
Once again, Daryl with fake news on TDP.
Exactly.
Oh, damn it. You let us down, Dom.
Dude, I know. And
if people didn't hear, we have our forum that we're doing Wednesday at 1:30 at the Hall of Fame. And obviously you're letting us down for that, but are we going to have your head on a computer this time like we did last time? Do you think you'll be able to tune in for that?
Absolutely. I will make sure that happens.
Okay, because my goal in life is to pack this place for our fan forum. Last year it went way better than we thought it would. We thought there'd be like 2 people, and then it went really, really well. So we're hoping it gets bigger. So even though you can't make it, we'll at least have your giant head on a screen.
Absolutely.
So you were also on the West playing with your Chungus friends, and you tried really hard to get $26,000 from a friend, which I think is kind of shitty. What went on there?
Yeah, we had a hell of a week. We started off in Watsonville for 2 nights, and kind of was the same story from Dirt Cup. We were just too tight. We've been struggling with balance so much, and had 2 pretty shitty nights of racing. And then when we got to Oregon, we changed some small stuff up, really more in the front end than anything else, and changed some small things around just geometry wise in the front, and immediately felt a difference. We went out really late on Monday night, but we were able to drive through the heat race. Started 13th and ran 3rd the first night. We won the second night in Coos Bay, and then ran 2nd in the rubber in Cottage Grove. And then we went up to Skagit. We were 2nd quick, ran well in our heat race, started 15th to do a 16-car invert, and then we drove through the field and ended up 8th. And that put us 4th in points, lining us up for the pole shuffle. Got beat in the pole shuffle in the first round, and then we ended up going 5th to 2nd to Trey, and waged quite a war there the last 10 laps. But unfortunately came up short, but a 2nd place run there was great. And then Sunday night at Elma, we went 9th to win. That was a great week to finish our week.
So when people say, oh, we almost won a race, I usually take that with a grain of salt. But you told me you actually slid Trey twice, and I was like, okay, but was it close? Then I saw the video today. Shout out to that Skagit white push truck. I hope I got their name right. Yeah, those were close.
Yeah.
Could you wreck a friendship there, or are you guys too close that even if you wrecked each other for the $26,000, you'd be fine?
It's kind of funny. Like we brought that up, and I mean, I think him and my view is probably the same on it. We would have definitely pissed some people off. I would imagine, his family and their guys and my guys, probably wouldn't have been thrilled. But, I kind of thought of it this way. If he would have wadded me up for the $26,000, I'd probably, have some choice words for him. And then, maybe lunch might be awkward on Sunday, but, that's part of the program. And I really felt like it was the same thing. And that's kind of the mindset that I took when we were racing is like, you know what, we're both professionals. We both know what we're doing behind the wheel. And, if we do misjudge and I wad him up or he wads me up or whatever, we're going for $26,000. It's not $2,600. It's, it's a big payday and it's a big race. And we've both been successful at that race. So I felt like it was, 100% justified to take our gloves off and Luckily we didn't crash each other, but unfortunately I came up short.
Now, there was a really weird moment at Dirt Cup at the Summer Nationals that Sam brought up in our group chat, and I figured we had to discuss on some level. Sam, I don't know if you want to describe it, or Dom, if you can add to what Sam says happened. Can you kind of take people through it, Sam?
Well, it was honestly every time I opened Facebook, it was on there. I was like, what in the hell? And then like it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and a lot of negatives got said. I guess this is the start of I guess it was one of the qualifiers or something, and Bergman was obviously pushing the guy on the outside, which I think was Cam Smith, pushing him out, trying to stay out of the grease or whatever. It's hard to tell from the video if there's a bunch of slop on the bottom or not, but and like I don't even, I'm not going to say I don't fault Seth in the situation, because I do, but at the same time, I don't know how an official didn't solve the problem before it got that far. Like, it just is dumb to me. Like, okay, if the guy on the bottom is trying to push the guy on the outside up, that happens a lot of nights, but, that was pretty extreme. And then I just don't know how, like, everybody's mad at Seth, and I get that, but the person that you really need to be mad at is the official. Because if you're an official, how do you ever let that start go? A racer, you know how racers are. They're going to get away with whatever they're let get away with a lot of times. So if you let this kind of stuff happen as an official, it looks really bad. And I thought it was, I couldn't believe how much my timeline was blown up with this constant. Every time I'd open Facebook, it was just popping up. And obviously I know Seth is getting a bad rap on it, and maybe he should, but it's just as much to blame for the official for letting it go. I've never seen something that blatant be let go, and then no caution, no nothing was thrown. Crazy to me.
So, Dom, the way it looked is basically Seth got beat on the first start, and then he didn't want to be low, so it looked like he was trying to push Cam up, but it looked ridiculous. And then they fought for a couple or they kind of just, I don't even know if they'd say fought, they kind of just, they around for a couple laps trying to line up the field. Is there anything we don't know from watching the video? Like, is there anything live that we missed, or?
Not really. It was the single worst start I've ever seen in my entire time of sprint car racing. I mean, I've never seen a video of anything like that, and I've never even heard of anything like that. I mean, I was up there watching, and I can promise you, every single person in the stands knew that the yellow was coming out. I mean, it was a complete, blatant, horrible start. Seth is getting pushed back a row. This is the second start. He was messing around the first start. Now he's really messing around. I mean, he was going so high to where Cam couldn't even get up next to him. We all kind of knew that this is what's going to happen. That they're going to throw him back. I didn't really think Cam did anything wrong. I think Cam was more so like, dude, just let me up by you to start the race. How that start didn't go, I'll never understand. I'll never know. I will say that Scott Russell, the next day at the drivers' meeting, addressed it first and foremost, and he apologized and said he did make a huge mistake. But again, I've never seen anything like that in my entirety of my career. I've seen games played on the start. It honestly didn't even look like games. It just looked like Seth didn't want to start the race on the bottom. Like, just had no interest in starting the race on the bottom. Dude, I've had the short end of the stick plenty of times. As a racer, you got to make what's best. I mean, whether that's starting early or starting late, or having your RPM up or down, or whatever that may be, you kind of got to do what you can do. Kudos to him for not, and for it working out. I don't think that would have ever in a million years worked with me. I would have been sent to Russia or something like that for doing that. But yeah, they let it fly, and it ruined Cam's night for sure, and it saved Seth's night for sure. So definitely an incredibly questionable start. Didn't understand. I mean, this is like past playing games. This is just like, I'm not going to start where I'm supposed to start. So I didn't like it. I like both those guys a lot. So, I also understand that they both want to get the best start you can. It's just, I thought it was horrible. It looked horrible. And it was a complete miss that Seth didn't get sent back, or both of them didn't get sent back. But I want to counter that. And I also want to say that there was a comment made on Facebook basically blaming the racetrack, that the racing surface wasn't good. And I do agree. I agree that the racetrack wasn't good at all on Friday night. It was about 10 foot wide. It was way overwatered. It was a huge curb they didn't do anything with. They managed the racetrack terribly on the first night. And that has been, I've voiced my, concerns with the people that need to know at Skagit, as well as another probably 20 guys, Trey being probably the most vocal. Brought that up again on Saturday night. The racetrack was better on Saturday night, but there is a huge problem at Skagit, and the only problem it is the track surface. I 100% believe that they're gonna figure it out. That they have so many good things going. There's so much great going on up in Skagit, but the track prep is a huge concern to the locals as well as the guys that travel there. And boy, it was obvious. It was definitely obvious that there was some lack of knowledge when it came to track prep this weekend. And we saw it a little bit at Dirt Cup, but there was rain, so it was kind of, hey, that is what it is. But it was very, very noticeable. They put new clay on the racetrack before this weekend, and the information I got back from the track guy was, well, we've got this weekend, and then we only have like 3 more local shows before High Limit comes. And I'm like, well, this is $26,000. You got 50-some cars in the pit. I think a local show would have been a lot better to mess with this instead of this race. But so I do understand that. I was incredibly upset with, the surface that they gave us for the weekend. Again, Saturday was much better, but when you have a facility, there's only 3 facilities in the United States that pay $100,000 plus to win for more than one night. We have Huset's, we have Huset's, we have Eldora, and we have Skagit. Those are the only 3. Our track prep has to be up to speed for that, and it's not. So the local guys have a legitimate concern, and it's walking through the pit area, it's very vocal. Now I have zero doubt that Kevin and John and the team up there are going to figure it out. I know that they will, but I just hope that they understand how important it is to figure it out sooner than later, because a lot of California guys aren't going to want to continue to go up. Even though the money is great, even though the product is great, it's very hard on equipment when you have racetracks that are rough and narrow and really impossible to pass on passing format races.
So Sam, you had a pretty good weekend too. 5 wins in a row with the ASCS. Could you take us through your weekend?
Yeah, we went to a place, I don't know, sprint cars haven't been to in a long, long time. Owensboro, Kentucky on Friday night. New place to us. Never seen the place. Really big D-shaped back stretch and, pretty normal front stretch. Kind of unloaded there really fast out of the trailer, fastest not laps, fastest in qualifying. Went 4th to 2nd in the heat race. Started on the pole of the dash and got smoked in the dash, thank God, because, we went back to the trailer and we had a lot of work to do. So got back to the trailer, made some changes to the car, and they worked out in a good fashion, because we ended up winning the feature by a little over 5 seconds. So it's pretty good to win my 4th in a row that night. And then we're on our way to Benton, Missouri, which is a place that we were okay with last year. We got in a crash there with like 2 to go. So definitely didn't leave a good impression on me, just, leaving that race with the crash last year. But, was kind of worried about the track all night long. It was so hot during the day. They just couldn't keep enough water on it, and was really, really worried. But the top stayed kind of shaded, so it built a pretty big cushion out there. And we were like one of the last cars to go out and qualify. We actually set quick time, thankfully, and drew another good pill for the dash. Won the dash. started off early, getting to catching lap traffic really, really fast. It was kind of a top dominant track. You really couldn't run the bottom at all. And once you get to lap traffic, it was so much a discrepancy in speed that I kind of took the let's take it easy approach. And Covington, he sliced and diced right in there. It's pretty aggressive, and I just kind of just stayed with him a little bit, kind of got a little bit of room because I thought he was maybe being a little over aggressive, and he got in there, trusting the lap cars quite a bit, and got tangled up with one of them and got spun around, and we inherited the lead back. Inherited lead back, had a restart with Blake Hahn behind me, and he got by us on the restart. Caution came out, saved me there, and I had to figure out a way to get a better restart there so I could get out front. And once I got the next restart, I started a little different in the corner and really got a good lead going into one. And I knew once I did that, I could kind of pace my own race. And then I went pretty hard the last half of the race, and we got through lap traffic pretty quick, and were able to seal the victory up, and to win our fifth straight was pretty neat.
So this is always the elephant in the room with Sam, and people always have comments about it. People are always saying the ASCS is not tough right now. They're saying you can only win in 360s. And that you should be running 410s or moving up to 410s. I don't think people really realize the situation of our team. You only have 2 410s. We're not in a position where we can send you to follow High Limit or the World of Outlaws right now. And 360s just for your living situation. That's where you're going to be. So in a lot of ways for you, between you and me and conversations we've had, always the 360 Nationals is a big one for us that you've never won. But this year, I think for you, it matters more than it generally has, winning this race or really doing well at it. Can you kind of take the fans through this?
Well, it's a race that we've obviously been to several times. We've won kind of, I don't know, we've won most of the big 360 races that there are to win. And I feel like the one that's eluded us the most, obviously, is the 360 Nationals. This year, obviously, probably being the strongest pre-entry we've ever seen as far as talent-wise. So it definitely makes it more difficult, but I feel like we also are coming in with the fastest race car we've had in probably the last 5 years, too, at the same time. So if there was ever a year that we're up for that challenge, it would be this year for sure.
So where do you see your chances? Dom's going to kind of break down your 360 Nationals later here, but how do you feel about this race? I've told you I'm very concerned about the draw. I feel like you've had a car to win before, and people really don't realize how bad the draws screwed you the last couple years.
Yeah, I mean, we can always complain about draw. We can always do that, and yeah, it can definitely end some people's nationals for a chance of a win, for sure. We've still been able to salvage decent nationals doing that, but yeah, I mean, draw is very important. Like if I'm starting my okay, what do we need to do to be able to win this race? Well, quick time is definitely a step in the right direction, and the quick time, getting quick time, it's the easiest 200 points to get all week. I think I've won 3 out of the last 4 prelims, and that 200 points that you win in the prelim feature is a lot harder to get than 2 laps by yourself. So to go out there and set quick time, or even like a top 5, top 6 quick time, in that area, get you some pretty good points on the board and set you up good for the rest of the weekend. So that's kind of what I'm aiming to do. I'm aiming to unload out of the trailer. We for sure would like to get a good pill draw, and just see how well we can do with that. And then from there, obviously the heat race, you got to get in the top 4. So we try to squeak out a top 4, and then then obviously you're in the top 8 invert, and you can maintain, maybe pass a few cars, and then that puts you in probably the first 3 or 4 rows of the feature and on Saturday night. And a guy that has an opportunity to win this race, that's all you can ask for. So, that's kind of the road to success at this place.
So usually for the races like this, I try to go down every single person that matters, and I try to break them down with you guys. But this year we thought we'd do something a little different. We're going to each pick 3 guys from the prelim nights that we're just interested to watch.
That's kind of shitty, Daryl.
I'm
Try to
sorry,
go
man.
to see who matters. Like, come on, Daryl. That's shitty.
I'm sorry, guys. So instead, we're going to pick 3 guys that we're just really interested to see how their 360 Nationals will go. So, Dom, I'm going to start you off first. Your 3 guys are Justin Sanders, Sam Hafertepe Jr., and James McFadden. Who do you want to tackle first?
Yeah, I'll start at the top. Sanders was the first guy that I had picked, and honestly, like the reasoning behind it, I have several reasons. Justin's not a big track guy, but he's phenomenal. Pretty much in anything he drives, but he's phenomenal in a 360. And I mean, I would go so far to say he's had several years where he has battled to be basically the number 1 360 guy on the 360 pole, like battling with Sam. And, I feel that on the West Coast, he's been a top 3 guy for the last probably 7 or 8 years. When he jumped in the 87 in Vegas, when Reitzel blew his face apart, he only ran like three laps, and he came out, got out of the car, and said, "This was hands down the best race car I've ever driven. I've never driven anything."
You did hear that.
What?
I'd heard the same thing. I didn't know if you'd heard that too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he got out and just raved up and down about it and was like, "Man, I wish I could get some laps in that car." Well, I remember a few years ago, he drove the 39, what would that be? The Swindell Speed Lab car. He made the Knoxville Nationals. I believe that was his first attempt as well. And then the following year, he filled in for Macri, ran well at the 360 Nationals, if memory serves me correctly, missed the 410 Nationals, but still had great speed on half miles in that car. I think the 87 is one of the best cars at Knoxville. I think Sanders is one of the best drivers around. I believe that he is going to be an underdog, but he's going to be someone you have to watch at the 360 Nationals. The second guy is a 360 Nationals champion before, in a car that he's taken to like water. James McFadden is my second pick. And the reason he's my second pick is he came out of, Australia this year, jumped in the 21, won 4 of the 5 Speed Week races, and then ran incredibly consistent at the Dirt Cup all 3 nights. They went back to the Midwest, and he's been incredibly consistent for the majority of the trip. He's shown speed at Eldora. He's shown speed at Knoxville just last week. He's a guy that knows how to win at Knoxville. He's a guy that knows how to win big races, and he's a guy that knows how to win this race. So that's my number 2 pick. And my number 3 pick is probably the biggest cherry picker in the United States of America, a guy that has no business racing 360s. He's a piece of shit for doing it, is Sam Hafertepe. And, I mean, when you look back at Sam's results at 360 Nationals, we got 2 second places. He's run well at the 410 Nationals. He's had this speed that's able to win this race for a decade, if you look back at it. Now, winning it and being fast enough to win it are 2 completely different things. But I do believe that whether you are on the side of the fence that says the ASCS series is weak and Sam is cherry picking, or if you're on the other side that says Sam might be one of the most underrated racers in the country and actually is incredibly quick 410 and 360, just judging off of the stat sheet alone this year, I think you would be crazy to think he's not a favorite. One thing that I've learned from my years of racing is when you race 410s all the time and you go back down to a 360, your car may not be as good as what it is with a 410 because the little bit of horsepower that you've lost and the engine weight throws off the feel of the race car drastically. So for those reasons, I feel like you guys are probably the best full-time 360 guy. You are the best full-time 360 guy. You've won prelim nights before. You've been close at the big one before. I think this year, you are going to be a serious terror on the prelim night as well as Saturday.
Sam, what are your thoughts on Sanders and McFadden? Obviously, we've talked about you already.
Yeah, like on Sanders, I feel like, like the way Reitzel runs this place is quite a bit different than most guys do. And I don't think Sanders will struggle with adapting to that at all. I just don't, I don't think you're going to see the 87 look like Reitzel's driving it, but I don't think it's going to be a bad look. I think it's going to be a good look. I just don't know, and I'm sure Reitzel's going to be kind of, helping him, direct him in the right direction of like how he would do it and what he would do in these situations. But Reitzel's been one of the fastest 360 cars, if not the fastest 360 car consistently at Knoxville for a handful of years now. So I feel like they definitely have the package coming in, and having a guy like Sanders come in the seat definitely doesn't do that car a discredit at all. So I think they're going to be tough to deal with for sure.
And then McFadden?
He ran this last week. I think he ran top 5. And they're not a normal 360 car either. So for them to come in and run top 5 obviously shows the kind of speed they have, and is definitely not a guy you can overlook by any means. I mean, like I say, this field of cars for 360 Nationals this year is probably the most stacked field I've ever seen for 360 Nationals. So, I mean, and he's right at the top of the list. They've been super fast since he's got over here. Had a lot of speed, and McFadden's probably one of the best drivers in the country. It speaks for itself.
Yeah, I just want to comment on Sanders. I think people are way too reading into he's not a big track guy. When he came here in the Swindell 39 and the 7 BC, I don't feel like I saw him make a bad move either year. Like I thought he looked great. I thought he really looked good. And I think people are putting too much stock in it. And if Sanders ran top 5, I wouldn't be surprised. And if Sanders was in the top 3, you wouldn't catch a surprise from me either. I think people are putting way too much on that. He's not a big track guy.
California guys honestly have a really good track record at Knoxville. Whether they run very few half miles or not, it seems like every time California guys do come to Knoxville, they seem to do pretty damn well. So I think, like Knoxville's so different. Like I think to run Knoxville good, you have to be crafty enough to know how to stick the bottom, stick the top. Like it's a crafty type of driving. And I think guys in California have that. Like they have that knack. Like it's so line dependent. You can't fake it around Knoxville. It's one of those things like you can't fake it out in California either. And I think that's why those guys come to Knoxville and do as good as they do.
Well, I want to remind people that Shane Golovic ran the 360 Nationals 6 times. He made it 4 times, and he started 3rd, ran 2nd in 2020, and then in 2021 he started 1st and ran 4th. So I just feel like that's another perfect example of a short track guy from California, predominantly in California, that went there and competed to win the 360 Nationals. So I agree. I don't think it's out of the realm to think that he could be a top 5, top 3 guy on Saturday.
So Sam, we'll go to your 3 now, and your 3 for Thursday are Kerry Madsen, Justin Peck, and Tanner Holmes. Why do we need to watch those 3?
Tanner Holmes he's been really quick all year. I think everybody thought it was just the 21 car making him fast, but he's showed a lot of speed in his own car, and he has a Fisher 360 under the hood of that thing. So that's kind of the reason I picked him, out of all the guys. Obviously we couldn't all pick the same guys, but, he was one of the guys that came to my mind just because, he's showed a lot of speed this year. He's been out here for a week or so, week or two maybe, or a week. I'm sorry. So he's got some time in out here. I think, like I say, he's got the right engine package. Obviously, for 360s, it's one of the better ones. And like I say, he's showed a lot of upside this year. That's the reason I picked him. And then going to Kerry Madsen. I think, like, man, Kerry's cars look so good here this year. Like every time I've watched it race, like I feel like his car looks so into the racetrack. He looks about as good as any car does that isn't consistently winning. He just hasn't put it all together, but I mean, their car looks phenomenal. Like I think, and Kerry has so many laps around Knoxville. I think he's one of the few guys I watch all the time. And I'm like, man, he's really getting a lot out of that race car, and it looks like the car's matching his his driving as well at the same time. So I feel like he's a guy that maybe guys don't think would be hot in the 360 deal, but I think he's going to be pretty stout. And then my last guy's Peck. I mean, he had such a good Volusia, and they had a Fisher under the hood of that thing too. So I can't see them being slow. Like I know they ran second or third here on this last weekend. I can't see him being slow at all. I mean, he's as fast as they were at Volusia, dominating 3 nights of racing down there, with good competition as well. He's coming in here. I can't see him being slow. I think they're going to be really good, really tough to beat.
So, Dom, what are your thoughts on Madsen, Peck, and Holmes?
So I agree with all three of them. I think Holmes, he was second quick a couple of years ago at the 360 Nationals on his preliminary night.
Yeah,
really strong.
I want to say Sam actually barely held on to, like, it was Holmes' first time there, and Sam barely held him off for the transfer, or he would have been starting right up front, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah, no, I believe that's correct, and I think it was actually last year because, I remember they went there last year and they struggled, and whatever they did to change it, they were pretty good around the Nationals time. So, to me, Tanner has shown speed, in the 21. He's shown speed in his own stuff by running second at the Dirt Cup. I think he's a threat anywhere he goes right now. I really believe that he's one of these young guys that is just waiting to be lit on fire. I mean, he's on it, and I think as long as they can get themselves timed in, I think that from the balance that I've seen of the race car, they're going to be a contender. Maybe not a favorite night in, night out, but I think that he could be a contender for the 360 Nationals if he can get himself qualified and get through that heat race. I mean, I think that he can make it happen. And then you look at Kerry Madsen. Kerry's one of the most decorated guys in the sport. He's won the 360 Nationals before. He's almost won the 410 Nationals before. So when you take a guy that's had so much success at Knoxville, he runs there weekly. The car's had great balance. He's had a lot of speed. I think when you throw the 360 in there, he's going to be a wily veteran and be able to make moves that some of these other guys can't. And he's going to know when the middle's in play. He's going to know, when he needs to roll the bottom and when he needs to slide across. That makes perfect sense to me. And then when you think of Peck, I mean, they've been really hot and cold. They've had moments where it's like, oh my gosh, they can't do any wrong. Then you've had moments where it's like, what the hell is going on with the 26 car? So it'll be the first time they've had a 360 back in the car really since Florida. They ran the one race at Knoxville last week, but other than that, I don't think they've run another 360 show. So it'll be interesting to see how they roll out. We know the engine has speed. We know the car can have speed. Now it's just a matter if they actually hit it and put it all together. And I really think that's the story of everything on this race and why Sam doesn't have a 360 Nationals. Every single thing has to go perfect. It doesn't matter that you're the fastest car. It doesn't matter that you have the best engine. It doesn't matter that you're the best driver. All three of those things have to line up, and then everything else has to go perfect for you to just be in contention to win the thing. Being good only gets you so far in a race like this, and whoever does win it on Saturday, it's not going to be an accident. It's going to be they had a fast race car. They were a good driver. Things went their way. All of those things have to fall in place.
Yeah, I actually have comments on all three. Racing here at Knoxville, generally weekly with Alex. Madsen, I think this format is going to go right up his alley. He's had some of the best car speed out of anybody. I guarantee he's going to be in the top 10 after time trials. And he's one of the guys I am most confident can go from the third row to the second row in terms of getting to a transfer spot. I'm very confident he'll be starting up front if he gets even half a draw. Peck, I've implied it on the podcast here before. I kind of thought like Peck once swept Florida, but I really thought the first two races were circumstantial. But man, that third race in Florida just we have a term from workaholics that S3 use. He dad dicked everybody at Volusia on that Saturday, and I can't forget that race. Like, that was just beyond impressive. And then Holmes, we talk about how great Trey Starks is at home. I watched Tanner Holmes straight up drive by Trey Starks at Skagit. Who the hell does that? I haven't seen that in years, and he just tracked him down and drove by him like it was nothing at Dirt Cup. Now, obviously, he lost, but Jesus, he gave Trey everything he could handle. I've been impressed as hell with Tanner Holmes the last few years.
I agree.
But now we'll move on to my three guys. I have Chase Randall, Austin McCarroll, and Kyle Larson. I have Randall because I think everyone would agree. I think fans would agree. I think Randall would agree. This year is not gone how it's been planned. And you guys have been fortunate enough to make the Knoxville Nationals and 360 Nationals. And you guys know how much a good weekend here can turn around your season financially and in terms of morale. And I don't think there's many high-profile racers that need more of a good next 10 days more than Chase Randall. And he's going to a place where he's been damn successful. I believe he's made the last two Nationals, been fast at the last two Nationals. And I think this is like a make or break. If he has a bad Nationals, I really think they're in trouble, and I think he can turn around his whole season if he has a good Nationals, and I think he's capable of both. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on Randall?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him run really good at Knoxville before, and it wasn't too long ago he was running the full points deal with his own family car at Knoxville, and I think he ran second in points, maybe made some really good showings at the 360 Nationals. He's made the Knoxville Nationals. I mean, he could definitely do it. Obviously the year hasn't went the way they wanted to go, but yeah, he's definitely capable. There's no doubt.
Dom, do you have anything to add on Randall?
Yeah, you're a piece of shit, Daryl. Okay, all right, for real this time.
Yeah, but for real, Daryl, you are a piece of shit.
You both.
Definitely a piece of shit.
Dom, do you have anything to add on Randall?
Big fat piece of shit.
Exactly. Yeah. Other than you being a big fat piece of shit, Daryl, I feel like Randall is in one of those predicaments where it's like you're going home to a place that you've got a lot of laps. It's either going to be, this is a relief that I'm here. Everything goes great. He has a strong 2 weeks, or it's going to be a catastrophic nightmare. I really don't know what one it's going to be. I hope he has a good week. I think it's deserving. I think that the results don't show his ability this year. I think they've just been off. But so have a lot of people. So, nothing's given in this sport, and it's a rough and tumble kind of deal. But I hope that him going home to Knoxville is going to be exactly what they needed to reboot them for the rest of the year.
The next guy I had on my list was Austin McCarroll. Racing here weekly the last couple of years, I've been really impressed with him. He can run anywhere on the racetrack. He's fast every night. He's got a ton of speed. But in the 360 races in particular, he's been very, very strong. He won the 10,000 to win race last year. He was in a position to maybe win this year, and they broke. I just think if I had to pick a dark horse that's not really a dark horse, he's definitely one of my two picks. I just think he's really, really fast, and if he won this race, it wouldn't surprise me. If he won it comfortably, I wouldn't be surprised. Do you guys have any thoughts on Austin?
Yeah, I mean his racecraft around Knoxville is has gotten really really good. When he runs this place, I very seldom ever see him make a mistake. I feel like they've actually had a lot of little bad luck gremlin type things bite him, but I mean, as far as his efforts and the speed of their race car, I mean, he looks about as good every night as anybody, I think. I mean, we go back to the years when Brown was really on here. I feel like he's that guy now. I really feel like he's the guy that can put it all together every night. Maybe he doesn't have a ton of wins this year, but he is the car that looks the best, puts himself in the best positions. He drives the track about as good as anybody, makes the right moves, plays defense really good, plays offense really good. There's not a lot of guys that race Knoxville as good as he does right now.
I agree. I think that the 88 has had great speed this year, even though they don't have a lot of wins in the win column. They've been right there a lot. They've run second a lot. They've been competitive a lot of different places, and I really believe that you want to have all that going your way when you come into a race like this. If he were to win, I wouldn't even bat an eye. And another thing, was that your third guy or your second guy, Daryl?
I have a third guy.
You do have a third guy, I was going to say, because there's one other McCarl that is equally fast.
He's going the next night.
Oh, he is. That's why we didn't talk about him yet. I was going to say, we all picked him.
Yeah. My third guy is Kyle Larson, and I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I think everyone's eyes are going to be on Kyle Larson. Man, guys, I mean, I don't think I have to say much else. He's probably the best sprint car racer of our generation that we've seen so far. I don't know. Do you guys have anything to add? Should we just open our mouths and get his balls in there now, or what do you think?
Well, Daryl, I don't know how you stretch for that one. That was a tough pick. I'm really really proud of you for going out on a limb with that one.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't seen him do a thing in a 360 all year long. I say
his first time at Knoxville in the 360 Nationals, I believe he won the prelim.
Yeah, well, he's going to miss the show this year.
If I have something to say about it, if I do have something to say, the 360 will make him look more pedestrian than anything, because with the 410 he has a huge advantage because he's able to get that 410 down to the racetrack about as good as anybody. The 360, a lot of guys can do that. So if we want to see a pedestrian Kyle Larson, or the most pedestrian Kyle Larson we'll ever see, it's Kyle Larson in the 360 at Knoxville. Not to say he's not going to win, because he still has the ability to win, but this will be the most pedestrian that Kyle Larson looks in racing.
Dom, do you have anything to add about Kyle Larson other than that I'm a fat piece of shit?
I mean, I don't think Kyle Larson's that good. I mean, he hasn't done a thing in a 360 all year long. He'll probably miss the prelim night.
So I've got both my co-hosts. Did both my co-hosts say he's going to miss the show, or was that you twice, Dom?
No, I did not say he's going to miss.
That was me twice, yeah. I mean, dude, they took one of my old schnees from like 2020 or 2019, and they won $100,000 with it at Eldora. So I got to give those guys as much shit as I possibly can.
Yeah, and I think I got his 360 thing wrong. I just remember him showing up in that 1K that year when he really started traveling, and I remember him running pretty badass in the prelim, I want to say. I thought, memory serves, I thought he had a really good battle with, I want to say, Lasowski in the Mark Birch 1M off memory.
Yeah, I believe so.
So now we're going to move to Friday.
I mean, either way, Daryl, you're still a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Thanks for dealing with me, guys. So we're going to move on to Friday, and my three drivers are Tasker Phillips, Tyler Groendyke, and Ryan Timms. Sam, you have Carson McCarl, Brian Brown, and Rico Abreu. Dom, you have Pittman, Gio, and Sweet. Dom, why don't you take it away with your three?
Yeah, so Darren Pittman in the 3 is something I thought was interesting. They've run a couple races together. I don't remember them being lights out or anything like that, but I don't know what 360 they've got under the hood this week either. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. I think Tim Kading has been really good in the 3, but I just really haven't seen Darren do a whole lot in it, and I obviously he hasn't raced a whole lot in it. So I think that'll be a tough pairing. But the 3 car's been good at Knoxville. Darren's been good at Knoxville. I look for them to be up towards the pointy end. Brad Sweet hasn't run the 360 Nationals I think since 2013, where he ran like 5th or 6th. I'm just excited to see Brad at a half mile with a 360. He doesn't really run a whole lot of 360 stuff, so it'll be interesting to see how that car maneuvers and how they go. I know they're going to have a Fisher in it, so I think they're going to be pretty good. And then the last one is Gio. The 7BC has won the 360 Nationals. Gio has won the 360 Nationals, and the car doesn't really have anything to prove, but the driver definitely does. I think that you've got a chip on Gio's shoulder right now, and all the times I've seen that, I've only ever been afraid to race against him. So the guy loves Knoxville. He lives for the Knoxville Nationals week, and I think he's basically trying out for a new job for next year. So, the 7BC, Tyler's going to go back into that as soon as he's healthy, but at least for the end of for the rest of this year, Gio's basically auditioning for his next job, and I can tell you right now, he's hungry.
Dom or Sam, do you have any thoughts on Dom's 3 drivers?
No, I'm honestly really curious to see how Brad does do with the 360. We don't get to see Brad really run 360 stuff very often, so really curious to see how they run. Obviously, I think he's going to be plenty fast. And then, obviously, Gio in the 7BC car, they were lights out last year with Tyler. And obviously, Gio probably runs – me and Daryl have talked about this before, maybe off air, but I feel like he runs around Knoxville about as smart as anybody. He might not have an Knoxville Nationals to his credit, but as far as guys that get around this place good and puts their car in the right spots, he's definitely one of the guys. And you put him here with a car that won the Nationals, the 360 Nationals last year, I think he's a tough car to beat for sure. And I'm kind of up in the air on Pittman's deal with the 3 car just because, I don't know what engines they have. I don't know their situation, but I think you put Pittman behind anything, he can make it go. So I think they'll be pretty quick.
Sam, your drivers are Carson McCarl, Brian Brown. Gee, Sam, how'd you pick Brian Brown? After you give me shit for Larson. And then
Daryl,
Rico Abreu.
Daryl,
Gee, Sam, how'd you pick Rico?
Daryl.
This is our thing, Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl, let me tell you something. Brian Brown is nowhere compared to Kyle Larson, okay, for starters, okay? But I picked Brian Brown as one of the guys because obviously he was quick time this last weekend, and they must have felt so good about it he loaded his shit up in the trailer after qualifying. So that's a sign that says, okay, hey, we're pretty good. They found a lot of speed the last couple of weeks. They were fast at Eldora, super fast the week before at Knoxville, coming from 16th to win the 410 feature. Looks like the 21 car is hitting its stride right at the right time of year, and he's one of the best guys around Knoxville, no doubt, for several years. Going to Carson McCarl, he just came off a win in the 15,000 to win. Really confident in his race car. After that race, his interview was basically he said he knew he had the best car. So for a guy to feel like that about his race car coming into 360 Nationals, a lot of guys should probably be worried about him. To win a 15,000 to win show right before this show means that they're right where they need to be. And Rico is probably the car I'm probably picking to win the whole thing, just because common denominator here, they have a Fisher. The 7BC had a Fisher last year. And just anytime you give a guy like Ricky a couple chances at something, He's the kind of guy that doesn't like failure. So I feel like it probably ate him up, a couple years back when they had to start like 21st in the field and they came up to third by the end of the feature on the Saturday night. I think it probably ate him up that it took him however long to figure the car out to get it right for Rico. But I think they're going to be super, super tough to beat. I think they've probably been doing their homework on this and probably circled this on their calendar as something that was obviously pretty important for them. And Rico's been doing a phenomenal job as a driver. He's got to have about as much confidence as any driver in the country right now. They've been really good everywhere they've went, had a dominant race car, and I feel like I say, you give Rico a second chance at 360s after the couple of years back, and I think, when they got a Fisher under the hood, I think they're going to be tough to beat for sure.
Yeah, I find Brown. I like that you picked him because I find him always very interesting at the 360 Nationals. There's years where he goes out in times like 29th, and then there's years where like he wins. And I find it very hit or miss from year to year. I find him of the guys that can win the race, I find him the hardest to predict. He struggled at Knoxville last year. He was struggling to start the year, and now it seems like he's hit his stride. So I'll be watching the 21 pretty closely because, like I say, he can go either way. Like he can bury himself in time trials, or he can set quick time by a tenth and a half. So he's the guy I'm watching. Now, as I said earlier, my three guys are Tasker Phillips, Tyler Groendyke, and Ryan Timms. I'll start with Phillips. He's obviously the 360 points leader. I think he might even have wrapped up the title.
He wrapped it up.
He just has speed that I haven't seen anyone else in the 360 class have. I think, man, if he gets out of his heat, I think he's going to time trial good. And if he gets out of his heat, he's a handful, and I think he's more of a handful than people realize. He's obviously a wild card. Some pretty exciting things can happen around him, good or bad. But in terms of just like flat out breakneck speed, I think he's been the fastest guy at Knoxville all year. And I only think there's a few guys that when he's rolling are going to be faster than him. It's just, does he put the whole weekend together? Tyler Groendyke, I think Sam would agree with me on this. It's kind of a guy who pays attention's pick. Groendyke is probably, I'd say, in the 360 class right now, the best at running the bottom. When he needs to leave the bottom, he's pretty decent. He likes to be on the bottom, but if he won a race at Knoxville, he might have won two this year, and when he got to traffic and he had to move around, he really had no problems moving around. But he's a guy that can drop one hell of a time trial and race really well that I'm not sure the nation knows how good he is at Knoxville. And then Timms is the opposite. I think everyone knows how good Timms has been this year at Knoxville in the Liebig 10 car. But he just seems like a half tenth off the elite guys. So my thing this week is going to be seeing if he can find that little bit. I have no doubt he's going to lay down a lap. I have no doubt he's going to get out of his heat. If he doesn't start in the front three rows of the A main, I'll be shocked. But I want to see if he's got that little bit extra that he needs to beat your Kyle Larsons, your Ricos, that type of team. What are your guys' thoughts on those three?
I think all three of them have shown that they have what it takes to win the 360 Nationals. It's really just a matter of being able to do it. Like for a guy like Timms, he's been at the pointy end of big events before, and I do think there's something to be said for that. The 10 cars had a lot of speed in the 410 stuff, and I think they've had kind of a good balance. But I don't know. I agree with you. I think that he's just that little sniff off of where a favorite would be, but he's definitely a guy that can make it happen. Things go right, you end up with a curb on the thing, he's one of the best guys around a curb at Knoxville. I mean, it can definitely happen. And then Gronendijk, as a local, I mean, he's an incredibly versatile local. Can run the bottom, can run the top. He's able to switch lanes. I think that's a threat as well. So I think both those guys can be huge threats.
And then, do you have anything on Tasker Phillips?
Tasker, I think, is a tougher story. He's shown more success this year than I think we've ever seen. He's been good at the Nationals over the last couple of years. I just don't know. I don't know if I don't know if he can put himself in position to actually win the 360 Nationals or his preliminary night. I think he'll be in the show. I think he'll definitely be able to do that. I just don't know if he has what it takes to get himself in position to win his preliminary night. I think that so much has to go right, and I think that they're fast enough, and I think he's good enough. But putting it all together on a preliminary night at the Nationals is incredibly hard to do. I'm just not 100% sure if they're there.
Okay, so those are our guys that we're going to go over that we're planning on watching. Now I gave you guys a little bit of homework, and I said I would like you guys to come up with who is your sleeper pick to win the Nationals. A guy that I'll even say, like, I'd say right now, Rico and Kyle just walking around Knoxville seem to be the prohibitive favorites. So I'll leave it open to anyone other than Rico and Kyle. Dom, who would be your sleeper pick?
So this is funny because I've thought about this majority of the day. There's two guys that stand out to me more than anyone else, and one I think is a little bit more of a sleeper than the other. The first one is Justin Peck. Justin has had speed, especially in the 360 stuff, but that car is definitely not a favorite anywhere it goes right now. It's just not, it's not a favorite. They've been a little bit off over the last few weeks, but I think with their engine package, and if they can get themselves timed in and through that heat race, I know he has the ability to race forward on his preliminary night to put himself in position on Saturday. So I think Justin Peck is a good dark horse, but my true, real dark horse is Carson McCarl. He showed a couple weeks ago that he can win when the money's on the line. He can race back when he's pressured or passed by a guy like his brother. He's been good. He's made the race before. He's won races at Knoxville. He knows what it takes to be successful in a 360 and a 410, and the money's on the line. His landlord has raised rent 60% over the last 3 weeks. So I guarantee you that Carson's, going to be racing for that. And I believe that Carson can win the 360 Nationals. And I'll go so far as to say I think he is maybe a bigger dark horse, but to me a bigger favorite than Austin.
Sam, I think a lot of people are going to think, oh, we're just biased. Carson's on the pod a lot. Maybe. I think you're pretty impressed with what you saw from his car 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty fast. And like I say, when a guy gets out of their car and has the confidence, saying, well, I knew I was better than them. Like, when you get out of your race car and you feel that way, it's hard to beat somebody like that. Not just him as a driver, but now he's got confidence in his race car too, so it even makes him a better race car driver. I think that's a telltale sign for definitely a car to watch out for, because coming off that 15,000 to win, I'm sure they're feeling pretty good about themselves right now. And like I say, I mean, tough to think that they're not going to be someone to deal with for sure.
So who is your dark horse pick to win this race? Maybe do what Dom did, a guy everyone knows is a dark horse, and then a guy maybe that really is truly a dark horse.
I'm gonna go against the grain here, and I'm not gonna pick a dark horse to win the race, but I want to pick a dark horse that's going to run really, really, really good that we haven't talked about. And it's not just because he's on the pod, but JJ Hickle has been really fast at Knoxville in the 360s. It showed a lot of speed. He's qualified really good. He's had a few mishaps, but I mean, as far as like, when I came here, just the lap times he's turning, in qualifying, hot laps, like the car has the speed, and he's raced here a bunch this year. I think this will be a race that he does very, very well in. That he's a guy that we haven't talked about, but I feel like he's gonna be pretty damn good. Now, as far as like a dark horse to win the race, that we really would like. We talk about all these guys that we think is going to be fast, but a guy that we really would maybe roll out from winning, but still be there. I mean, man, I know we touched on so many guys, but I'm going to pick Parker Price Miller, just because I've seen the 71 car go pretty damn good, and Parker looked really good here before. And I think they're going to be quick. I mean, maybe not so much to win the race on Saturday, but it's another guy we didn't talk about that I think is going to have a lot of speed, to be honest. And when he won a prelim a couple years ago, maybe, so
fairly recently.
Yeah, so I think they're going to be pretty quick.
So Dom, you had to leave there for a second. Sam's pick for like a dark horse that would run good was JJ. And then you obviously heard his dark horse that could win. What are your thoughts?
I agree with both. JJ is he's been quietly running strong at Knoxville the last few weeks. I'd love to see a monster run from him. I'd love to see a huge score for him and, have a successful, good 360 Nationals. He definitely deserves it. And I agree with Parker. The 71 is always fast at Knoxville. Parker's won races in the 410 and the 360. He's been very fast for both. I see him being, a definite dark horse contender in the 360.
So my dark horse, I'm going to kind of go along the lines of Sam, and I've implied this on previous pods. A guy I'd like people to watch is Timothy Smith. This is a guy I'm saying is a dark horse to make the race. He's in the Smith 86, the Tiger towing car. I'm sure people remember that. It's been around forever. It was the first car Steve Kinzer ever drove at the Knoxville Nationals. He's parked right beside us, so I kind of keep up with how he does every week at Knoxville, and he is consistently, on nights when you have to time around the top, he is consistently timing in the top 5 and consistently going forward in the heat. The caveat with him is he has not been, when it's been around the bottom, he has not been, I'd say he's a tick off when he's not, or if the tracks are on the bottom. So if it does go around the bottom, I think he's in for a challenge. But if the track is around the top, Timothy's the kind of guy that I think can time in the top 5 that no one expects to time in the top 5. And if he doesn't get out of the heat, will have the speed to get out of the B. He's like a really big dark horse, but I'll be watching him pretty curiously because, like I say, he has a ton of speed around the top. So if it goes that direction and he gets a good draw, he might really surprise people with an A-main start. In terms of my dark horses, I'm going with less of a dark horse than you guys, but I don't think people are talking about Brad Sweet enough. Last year, Casey ran the 360 Nationals, and I don't know if people remember, but he was pretty damn competitive. He was, I want to say, a borderline 4th or 5th place car on his prelim, and that convinces me that a lot of the bugs that some of the 410 teams have when they go race 360s, I feel like KKR is going to have a handle on that. I don't see Brad not timing in good, and I sure don't see Brad not getting out of his heat. And I just don't see a world where Brad isn't going to be in contention on, and if he's in the front 2 rows of that race, I just think he's going to be a lot to handle. I don't know. What are your thoughts on my picks there, Sam?
Yeah, I think, like starting on Brad, like there's no doubt in my mind. he's probably one of the most polished race car drivers there is. I mean, he doesn't have anything that he can't do. Some drivers have the strong points. I don't feel like Brad has a weak point. Like he has everything he does. He can run a monster curb. He can run a rough, heavy racetrack. He can run a slick racetrack. He can run across the middle. He can do everything. So a guy like him is never out of the talks. I think maybe people are not talking about him basically because he hasn't had like the dominant year we've seen him have in other years. Maybe that's the reason, but Brad Sweet is, the ultimate professional when it comes to driving a sprint car. So I don't think there's a, maybe he's a dark horse because people haven't been talking about him, but he's definitely right up there with Rico and Larson as a favorite. And as far as the Timothy Smith pick, I think he's a sneaky guy that can get the job done. Like, I think he's the guy that goes out, sets a really good time trial, struggles to get out of his heat race, maybe doesn't get out of his heat race, but starts on the front of the B, gets out of the B, hangs around and runs about 15th, and then catches the back of the A. Like, on Saturday night, I think he's that kind of guy. That's where he's at, and he's got a lot of speed. So I think that's a very good pick.
Dom, do you have anything to add on Brad Sweet or Timothy Smith?
I think Brad Sweet is a favorite anywhere he goes. So, I totally see why he's a dark horse. And I think the last time he ran 360 Nationals was 2013, and he had a top 5 run. So, in my opinion, I think Brad definitely could get it done on Saturday night. And, he's a guy that's won basically every big race there is, or the majority of them. So, I don't think you'll treat this different than a 410 Nationals or a, Kings Royal or a Gold Cup or anything like that.
So we went over the drivers we kind of wanted to talk about. Do you guys have any general other thoughts on the 360 Nationals? I know, Sam, you had a thought. Dom, I don't know about you. So, Sam, go ahead with your thought.
Yeah, we've really seen some horrible racetracks for the Saturday night feature for the 360 National. I mean, a lot of them. Like, it's consistently that bad, and I don't know why, because like their prelim nights are usually pretty damn spot on. Like if you're putting the effort in on your prelim nights, I don't understand like why we've had the struggle on the Saturday nights. We've really had some bad racetracks on the Saturday night. I don't know. It's almost like they don't care some nights, and I know that's probably not obviously that's the observation from a racer. Like, man, what are we doing? Why are we not being Knoxville and having like the ultimate racetrack? Like you look Saturday night at 410 Nationals, and they're really making sure they have the perfect racetrack. They're trying their hardest to have the perfect racetrack, and I think now like the 360 Nationals has gained enough steam and enough people go to it, enough people watch it. Like, I think Knoxville needs to take notice that we need this to be a good racetrack. There's a lot of good racers that are racing in this race. Like last year, right around the top, laid rubber around the top. I guess what disappoints me is I know they can do better. I've seen them do better, and I'd like to see better out of them come Saturday night.
Dom, do you have anything to
add? Yes. I believe this race pays $20,000 to win. Is that correct?
And lap money is $35,000 with the lap money.
Yeah. I would like to see this race turn into a $50,000 to win 360 race. Now with $26,000 being thrown out at Skagit and the Trophy Cup being 30.
Canadian Nationals are usually 30.
Right, Canadian Nationals is 30. I would like to see Knoxville step up and make this 50,000 to win, 5,000 to start, something like that. I think that would entice, even more guys to go. That would definitely make it worthwhile for me to want to go back there again. Obviously, I have a lot better shot anymore of making the 360 Nationals versus the 410 Nationals. So pumping up that money there throughout the field where I think it probably should be would be a great thing for the event.
And just for clarification on Sam's comments, it seems like a lot of years the 360 Nationals is just a train around the top. What we're basically asking for is give us some option on the bottom. Is that fair to say, Sam?
Yeah, I just, like, I know, and I mean, I know, I don't think it's purposely that the track ends up that way. It just seemed like, man, we've had a lot of those nights where the Saturday night comes around. It's a big show for these guys at least, and just sometimes just not a lot to work with, and like we'll go hot lap. I remember hot laps last year. I hot lapped, that was quick time on the bottom before A main, and come feature time there was no bottom left, so it was right around the top and the laser rubber around the top. And we've had quite a few years where it's been just kind of a one line type race, and not very interesting to watch for a fan. So we've had even had several fans come down and say, man, that was a snooze fest or whatever. And I feel like this race is gaining a lot of traction, and there's a lot of fans that are actually coming a week early to catch this race too now. And I feel like we definitely got to put a show on for the fans, and give them a little bit better racetrack so we can put on some better racing.
Dom, do you have any other just final thoughts about the race in general, or storylines,
No.
or things you'll be watching?
I would just double down on what Sam said. I think it's important to get the racetrack right. They have the ability, they have the equipment, they have the knowledge. Take that little extra time and make sure you're giving these guys the best possible racetrack, because the fans and the drivers both deserve it.
Okay, do we have anything to talk shit about?
Well, biggest thing is, I mean, you're a piece of shit. I mean, we know that, Daryl.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, besides the fact that you wish you were as good as Landman when it comes to this stuff, or the Chaz, but you're not, Daryl.
Yeah, the Chaz is smoking you right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
The Chaz is very...
I think Landman's kicking our ass on guests. Landman's getting some badass guests. I've actually really enjoyed his interviews. I've honestly, be honest, I've been talking to him about maybe shifting my talents to his side, because I feel like this deal's bringing me down.
So I didn't want to say anything, but I'm not gonna say my brother's the only big shakeup in the sport. I might be having another podcast as well. It sounds like I'm getting picked up by the one and only Bullpen. I'm an outlaw guy now. High limit.
So I guess we don't really have much shit to talk other than I'm a fat piece of shit. But I guess what I really want to say is I just hope fans go to our to the forum we're doing at Knoxville. It was really good last year. I think everyone had a blast, and like I say, I really want to make that a success. Man, I'm struggling to talk shit, and I feel like we're letting people down because we haven't talked shit in a while, fellas.
My favorite part is, like, man,
it's hard to talk shit when you do win. It really is.
Yeah. But we've sucked dick all year long, and then we roll in and like just change some minor shit, and then it's like, oh my god, we can race again. I can drive again. The car feels different. I mean, how could it be that hard? I mean, oh my god.
Yeah, that is a crazy thing about racing. Like, I guess we won't talk shit, but I think we'll just ad-lib here. It's crazy to me how, like, I feel like on the RD12s, I feel like we really had our 360 program, like, really, really good. It's crazy how you just, like, change a tire and it just changes everything. It blows me away how, like, just one variable can just change everything your car needs.
And I can kind of tell you why, though. Like, say once you get dialed in on that particular thing, like, dude, you know what you're doing every night to repeat that success. And when you get in that rhythm of doing those things and something new comes along and it doesn't work anymore, it's really hard to get out of that rhythm of doing the same things you always did. It takes guys like a Ricky Warner or the betters of the sport to figure that out, and that's why they are the best. Like, a guy like me, it's taken me 3 or 4 years to, like, try to polish my car back up to getting it where I feel like it was as competitive as it was back then, and even with the 410, like, when the tire changed, like, man, I feel like it took me forever to grasp what's wrong with my car. What do I need to do? And all the adjustments I was making was wrong. And yeah, it's just like Dom said, you start questioning yourself, you question your race car, you question all these different things, and it ends up being something really minuscule.
Yeah.
So Dom, on like your end, I won't ask what you guys did, obviously, to get on track, but why do you think you got off track? Like, where do you think? Like, a couple years ago, you were friggin' unbeatable in California. Last year, you had an off year, and this year, I think you'd call a disaster. And now all of a sudden, you're saying it's a few small things. Like, where do you think you got off track?
Well, I think that these tires have changed several times, without the actual, type of tire, like just like the H's did, or, these other tires. But we've seen iterations of this tire that have changed. So I think originally when we got on it, we still had a pretty good package. We could kind of run the same stuff as what we were running before. And then once a new iteration of the tire come out, and now the car's really free and you got no forward, you change all these things to get better on that tire, and then the tire changes again, and you're changing all these things again, and now you're just missing a moving target. And I think that's just kind of how we got where we thought we were doing something to help the tire and to help the car, and the tires have changed, and now we're on the wrong side. We're over here and we're closing in on it. Well, then target moves, and now we're on the wrong side of it. So I think we're back on the right side.
So, to give fans an idea, Sam, I don't want to give away too much, but you and I used to run a lot of left front, for example, and then that became terrible. Can you kind of talk, like, that was the thing that hurt us, is we'd run a lot of left front, and then all of a sudden we couldn't. Could you kind of explain to people, like, how that you, and like how it changes everything?
Well, it was like a combination of the left rear tire and the right rear tire together. The right rear tires that we used to run wouldn't roll under as bad as they do now. And like right now, when the tire rolls under, the car just slides across the racetrack. It feels like it honestly feels like the corner stood up, but it's just sliding across the racetrack. And whereas back when we were able to run weight in the left front, it would load the right rear, but the right rear wouldn't roll under the car, and you could still grip. Nowadays the tires don't do that, and then the other really huge benefit we used to have is like the RD12 used to be a grow tire on the left rear. So under acceleration, grow up, drive off the corner super hard. So it would mask some problems that you would have, maybe putting too much left front. Nowadays, like, I feel like most guys, if you touch the left front very much, like, you get in trouble because you can't let the right rear tire roll under. And I know it sounds simple and easy to fix, but like if we were sticking our right rear all those years by inherently adding weight to the left front or more right rear weight, however you want to call it, and now suddenly we can't do that anymore, we've got to figure out another way to stick the right rear without doing that. And like I say, the better crew chiefs, like a Ricky Warner and such, they can look at the race car and know exactly, maybe not know exactly, but they have a way better guess or judgment by watching the race car go around the racetrack to fix those problems. My number one issue is I can't watch my race car go around the racetrack. So for me to fix my problem, it takes me a really long time because I'm like, oh no, I'm not rolled over on the right rear. And in turn, if you had a guy watching your car, they could tell you certain things. So I think the way things have changed, the tires, have a tendency to not stand up as much on the right rear. And then obviously we don't have the growth on the left rear to help us drive off the corner. There's just a lot of variables that really change, what you're needing. I feel like that's, some of the stuff. And I don't I don't think you're giving anything away. I think most guys know they can't really wrap the left fronts up very much anymore. I mean, I think it's pretty known across the board. I don't think that's giving anything away. But if it did, hey, kudos to whoever doesn't wrap up weight in the left front anymore.
So, Dom, would you say, to summarize everything, like when we talk about how the tires change things, it's the tire rolling under that is like the whole key to everything, and that has been like the drastic change?
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like when you, like for me, the HGWRD were the rear tires you ran in California forever, up to 2023. So you have these really, really good tires that were high grip, high growth. And then when you would run the H with the Outlaws, they were lower grip, basically lower growth, no growth. And it was a narrower tire on the right rear. So it would change this comfortable feeling you have all year on the HGW RD and then put to a tire that's much more tight. And the sidewalls would roll over, everyone would have mud on their beadlock rings. And you would have that because you could run 12 pounds in it. But as soon as the tire sat down from standing up, the sidewall would roll over and it would make the car ill handling. So for years, all these guys on the road have changed their tire to work around a tire like that. Well, all these California guys, they had this RD HGW. And now that you've got these tire changes, you've got to change things on your race car. And now again, with these tires that we've got now, like the mediums are different, and all the outlaw tires are different. And so now you've changed your car around again, but you're always chasing something. So I'm rambling now, but it's just these tires are just they're so different. And when they do change, I mean, this feel that you get, and I guess that's the point that I'm trying to make here is the feel that you get with a tire that you like. Like for me, I would never be wide open. I'd never be off the gas, but I'd never be wide open. And you would run within that pedal, and then you would work the brake the same way, and you're working them both. And that's kind of how you get your feel. When you change the tire, you change the feel, you change the need of what the driver needs.
Okay, I thought that was awesome. I feel like stuff that I think that's why people listen to the podcast. They want to hear stuff like that. So we didn't talk shit, but I still think we gave the people a little insight. So I think that's good for now. Sam, obviously, good luck tomorrow. Dom, you're a piece of shit for not coming to Knoxville. You cock teased us and told us you were coming tomorrow. So
you know what? You're just lucky I don't kiss you on the mouth, Daryl.
So
yeah, but still not as big of a piece of shit as you.
No. Crap.
I love you guys. I missed you guys. Sam, go kick some ass and take some names.
There's this 57 car racing us. I don't think he's going to be very good.
He's a schmuck.
I'll talk to you later, fellas.
See ya.